pictures on here. I'd say there's a lot of foxes, or gray foxes, bobcat, gray fox, bobcat, and a rabbit, and 2 rabbits. Anybody feel real confident about this one? Feel like they saw it and they're like, okay, I figured it out. I feel super solid on it. No?
I really thought it was a hind. I really thought it was a rabbit.
Thought?
Well, I think it is a rabbit.
Okay.
I answered rabbit and felt good about that answer.
Okay. Okay. And did anyone else say?
I may look like a dumbass here.
Well, that's all right.
We'll see.
Yeah, there's a few rabbits. Okay, so here I'll just point out what I'm seeing, and then and actually let me grab my little flip guide. Visual aid.
Loves to keep us in suspense. Nobody got it right. It's a ring.
Yeah, it's a wolf.
It's a wolf one.
Yeah. Domesticated wolf that escaped.
Blockier.
Wombat, that's what I'm going with.
Which one would you rather argue, wombat?
Wombat, yeah.
So first,
and a goodie.
first thing I'll say is the light is super tough, right?
Yeah.
And anyone look down there and you're like, oh geez, it's just like it's all blown out, and that happens a lot in sand on cloudy days. And one of the first things I do when I get to a track like this is just start getting my trying to angle at all sorts of different angles and just get at different positions and try to find one where the track stands out better. But when I looked at this, I saw a pad right here.
Yeah.
Like a triangular-ish pad right there, and then 4 toes coming toward me right there. It was pretty symmetrical, and you could do an X through it, which was like, oh, well, okay, so that leads you more towards the gray fox camp or a fox camp, but it's also pretty round, right? It's also pretty round. And then if you follow it back, well, first of all, there's 3 lobes on the back of the pad there, and if you follow it back, here's another track right here, right there, that's larger. It's hard to see, but there it is right there. So here's the 4 toes and the pad right there with the lobes on the back. And if you keep following it back, you get a real nice clear front of a bobcat right there. And so what I think is we have a left front, and then you have the hind somewhere up here, and then another pair of tracks, and then another front and hind right here of a walking bobcat. And so that the hind feet of bobcats really symmetrical. Almost all the time, people mistake a bobcat track for a gray fox or something. It's because they were looking at a hind foot, not a front foot. And so and in here I'll see.
These are great drawings.
Thanks, man. So here's a bobcat hind right there. So much more symmetrical. You see that? And you can do the X. You can do the X through it right there. Versus this one that's much more. This is the typical more asymmetrical bobcat with the big double lobe at the top.
Jonah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you probably get ready to say it. So I struggled, ended up with bobcat, but I struggled between housecat and bobcat. So what would be your suggestion to figure that out?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, most people. I mean, obviously there's a size thing, right? So, but one thing that really helps me with a housecat versus bobcat is housecats tend to have blockier toes, less teardrop shaped, and then on the hind foot of bobcats, you tend to get a lot of negative space between the pad and the inner toes, generally making this pad more oval shaped. Whereas housecats, this pad seems to be rounder. Like basically, the arc of these toes and a housecat on the hind feet is pretty flat. Like it's not as it's usually not as curved as
parentheses or something like that.
Right. So yeah. So this drawing illustrates it pretty well too. So so see how these toes, it's more like a parentheses versus a C. If I was going to put it up like that, see that curve isn't very steep, versus on a bobcat on the hind, look how steep the curve is if you were to draw a line through those toes.
Okay.
So that space in there is a lot bigger on bobcats than on housecats. Those toes tend to be a lot tighter.
Could you show us a gray fox again?
Yeah, so here's a gray fox right there.
Which one did you show?
So here's the front right here.
Not good. Starlight. Oh, that's where
I live out of here.
It's right across the street.
Sorry. Yep.
And then you have 3 lobes. I know they're supposed to only have 2 lobes, but they, on the rears they have the, on
Yeah,
the
so-
hinds they have the 3 lobes.
So that is one of the things that really helps is looking at how many toes you could fit into the pad. And so on a bobcat track, oftentimes you can fit the pad is a much larger proportion of the track. So see how many toes you could fit in there. And if you look at this one here, look, you could fit a bunch of toes into that pad. A gray fox is going to be like 1, maybe 1.5, maybe 2 toes.
I'm not seeing. I see. Besides this track, next to that one, this one still looks like a fox to me. Like the
Yes.
pad right here seems like you could fit maybe 1 toe in there, and then like I even kind of see the chevron. I don't know. It just and, like
Yeah.
it's a perfect circle. It just seems like a fox. But
And I
it being
agree,
in this
yeah,
line with that,
Yeah, well, and I agree that, I mean, and so context is important. I mean, I think there's stuff in here that we can talk about, but so here's the front right here. Actually, okay, yeah, there it is. So so this being the pad, right? There's the pad, and there's toe 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, it's toe 2, 3, 4, 5. So that being that foot, and then there's the hind right here, and I totally agree. These hinds look exactly like fox tracks. I mean, sometimes they can be incredibly fox track light, and so one of the things I do when I'm walking around out here and I look down, I'm like, oh, cool, fox track, and then immediately like there's a little warning thing going off in my head, and I'm like, okay, get down here and see if this is a bobcat hind. And so I get down here and I start digging around for evidence, and I'm like, oh, look at that. And then if we dig in up here, we can probably find there's one right here. So it might be front hind. No, that's a squirrel going. I almost asked that. That's a squirrel going the other direction. See a squirrel hind.
A lot going on. Yeah. A lot going on.
Yeah.
and the turtle.
And a turtle. Yeah.
And the
So challenging question, right? This was a very difficult question. They will not all be very difficult, but I thought this was a really a good one because that bobcat hind thing. Oh yeah, you can see that squirrel much better now with the going towards Rob there. Maybe we can see that bobcat. The one that, yeah. See, here's that hind. That's showing up now. There's the toes right there.
And that perfect print back there threw me off.
This one.
Yeah, I was like, is he trying? You know, are you trying to throw me a curveball with? Oh, look how obvious that is there. So
Oh right.
that's,
Oh right.
just overthinking everything there.
Rob, what did you think on this one?
I initially went with gray fox. That's what I wrote down. I thought one was coming across here or something. Largely because if it was going that way, this pad was really small to me compared to the rest of them. It was showing, but eventually I turned to it being in line with the bobcat, and no claws showing up there. Yes, there's an X in there. I think that's part of distortion that it's throwing some of the sand back, which again, all the ridge back here indicates its direction of travel is that way, and I think that covered up some of the palm pad back here. And then I picked up on a ridge right in between these toes here, which told me again it's going that way, and that just the age is in line with the rest of these bobcat tracks and the pattern. The shape I think is slightly distorted, but I did settle on bobcat in the end.
Yeah. I think this is a really good one for. I mean, it's a good teachable opportunity because this is a. If I found this track and none of the others were in this line, I would definitely not have asked it as a question, because just on that one alone, it's a hard. I still feel like it looked really round to me, and I wouldn't have immediately jumped on gray fox. I would have looked at it and been like, oh man, that's hard, and I would have like really worked on it.
I mean, gray fox can be really round too.
They can be extremely round.
That's what I had in my mind.
Yeah, and they can be, and actually even that one right there. I mean, it's very similar in that, like, you know, you can't fit all those toes in there.
And
the hind on the bobcat, I found it's not necessarily a great indicator. That's better with the front than it is with the hind, because the hind pad of a bobcat can be pretty small.
It can be,
you know.
Yeah. And in the sand, everything kind of collapses back in after it's walking through too.
Yeah.
So tough little track there.